oh my, what a horrible, horrid, terrible place. And no, I am not referring to Tirisfal. I am referring to the Monastery of the Scarlet Crusade. Now, we have had a lot of very evil organizations, terrible organizations that just do horrible, terrible things in the Warcraft setting here in Azeroth. I am one of those who considers the Scarlet Crusade to be one of the absolute worst. And I am, quite frankly, glad that we have basically dealt with them. In fact, what we do in these dungeons, because we're actually going to be going through 2 dungeons that are in this building here, in this particular video. Now, let me re-clarify. This is the Scarlet Halls in the Scarlet Monastery, as in their current state in BFA, not the vanilla versions back in the day. Now, as I have mentioned before, this is, these are the dungeons in retail. I'm not going to attempt to actually solo and showcase the dungeons in WoW Classic, to see the vanilla versions, because I can't. Anybody knows that I couldn't do that. Yeah. Anyways. However, I will be referring to a couple of the things about the way they used to be back in the day, at least with the Scarlet Monastery. In fact, that's part of the reason why we are going to be doing this on my paladin here, who is wielding the Corrupted Ashbringer. And I will explain why, though some of you may obviously know exactly why, just by me simply mentioning that. Now, this is a bit of a follow-up to when we went through this entire starting zone of Tirisfal Glades as our Forsaken. So if you go through the questing here in Tirisfal Glades as a Forsaken, you will meet a certain character in this zone. And you go through this zone, and her story kind of stops at the end, but it actually continues when you go into these 2 dungeons. Now, remember, these are the updated versions of these dungeons for Cataclysm, though it does show a loading screen for Miss of Pandaria, so it may have been tuned up a bit for Pandaria. But basically, storyline-wise, these are basically supposed to take place in Cataclysm because of the character we're going to be interacting with in here. Yeah, so from what I have heard, this was a very popular place to be in vanilla back in the day, as the dungeon here, Scarlet Monastery, was considered one of the better places to go to. It was a pretty tough dungeon, but it was also a good dungeon to go, because I believe some gear here was pretty good to get. I obviously cannot speak from experience in that regard, but it's what I've heard from some people that have gone through it back in the day. So you enter here. You do have to deal with some of the trash here. Some sentries for the Scarlet Crusade. Oh boy, the Scarlet Crusade. Alright, so on one side we have the Scarlet Monastery, and on this side we have the Scarlet Halls. We're going to do the Scarlet Halls first, as that's actually how they have set up. Now you see what I mean. It shows the Miss Pandaria loading screen. So I guess this may have been gotten a bit more of a revamp in Pandaria compared to back in Cataclysm. Ooh. A hooded crusader. And yes, I did kind of put this outfit on for a couple of reasons. One, to, kind of reflect back to the days of, what a paladin back in vanilla would have looked like with a tier 2 set, along with the Corrupted Ashbringer. I know this is not the original Ashbringer. Forgive me, I am not able to actually get Corrupted Ashbringer the way you used to back in vanilla. The only way you can see that nowadays, I believe, is when you do the Death Knight Star Zone and see Darian Mograine use it. This is the one that they came out, that they added in Legion, so it's the best I can do. Yeah. Buckets of meaty dog food. I wonder what that's about. Anyways. So I like these, she's got a couple of what look like katanas here. She's got the shoulders from the Paladin set from Ice Crown, and she's got the a different tinted hood of what I'm wearing.
I am forsaken.
Well, okay then. I guess she just kind of gave it away. Forget she said that. Just ignore she said that. Well met, Paladin. I mean you no harm. I am here posing as one of the Scarlet Crusade because they have become irredeemably corrupt and evil. Oh yeah, I already know that. I need your help to put an end to them once and for all. Remember, this is taking place after the events of Wrath of the Lich King, the beginning of Cataclysm, where we dealt a very devastating blow to the Scarlet Crusade, or as they chose to call themselves in Wrath, the Scarlet Onslaught. And that was, mainly because, as we discovered in the Wrath starting zone, they were getting their forces and heading to Northrend because a certain Nathrezim by the name of Mal'Ganis had returned and wanted to send an army of the Scarlet Crusade to Northrend to take out the Lich King because he wanted revenge on Arthas. And we, as the player characters, dealt a devastating blow to the Scarlet Onslaught up there. And we are here now in this dungeon, basically taking out what remains of the Scarlet Crusade, essentially. First things first. Let's kill us some Crusaders. And when I say kill the Scarlet Crusade, I mean wipe them out. All of them. Oh, sorry. Root and branch. Rank and file. She wants me to kill 50 members within the Scarlet Halls. There is a book of great value to me here in the halls. Unfortunately, it is in the possession of Flame Weaver Kogler. I've tried to get close to him before, but it's never quite worked out. You might have better luck. Just watch out. I hear that he's gone well and truly insane. The Flame Weaver plans to burn every tome that they have in the library. He'll probably burn the Scarlet Halls down in the process. Speaking of which, couple of things. One, there actually is another book in there that you can get, but only if you come here with your mage, and I will explain why when we get there. But I highly encourage you that if you have a mage, a max level mage, come to this dungeon and go through on heroic, and I will explain why when we get to this boss. Also, he's using my main mage's transmog, except the cloak does not match, but that's essentially the set I use for my main mage because he's a fire mage, so... and I have him use the title of Fire Lord, because to me it just looks awesome and it works well.
Dark Lady watch over you.
So, there's something I want to point out and also talk about here. Look at this, I'm carrying a bucket of meaty dog food. Now you may be wondering, why do you have a bucket of meaty dog food? Because of this. So, you're probably wondering why that just happened. So here's the thing. These are dogs that have been forced to starve. It has to do, this is, one of the ways that Blizzard tends to use trash to help you get an idea of what you're dealing with the upcoming boss. But the Scarlet Crusade has people here that are starving dogs purposely. They are withholding the dogs from eating. They're withholding food from them because they want to use them against enemies or intruders or even prisoners. Yeah. I'll talk a bit more about this when we get to the boss, because he's the worst of them all. And in fact, he reminds me of a certain someone. Now, I know that to discuss it is actually a bit of a spoiler for a show, but I will explain why I actually, at this point, do not care about spoiling that show when we get there. So, yeah. You can throw the bucket on the Watchman, and the dogs will eat him, and they'll fall asleep because they finally had a good meal, because it's the first time that they've been allowed to eat. So let me just say, going through this dungeon regularly with a group, this area hurts. So you have to get these targets, because...
Archers, attack! Keep firing! Let none escape! Keep firing! Let none escape!
Hurts.
Another down.
It hurts a
Do
lot.
not relent! Another down!
This is a rough little part to go through because of how much damage those arrows do. Seriously.
I don't have a tongue.
Some tangy yogurt. Those guys do count towards the total. Or maybe not. Never mind. Also, those hounds are being held back by chains. I don't want to do this. But I'm sorry. So this... Actually, before I read his thing, let me read the little thing here. The Crusades' fiercest warriors, those who have held their ground and fought to defend the monastery throughout these dark times, are rapidly preparing an army within the Scarlet Halls. These soldiers are bound by their hatred of the unliving, and they are willing to sacrifice everything for their order's righteous cause. Yes, they are. Even innocent lives. This is Houndmaster Braun. The quickest and surest way to detect the undead is by the scent of rot they carry, and even the most veteran soldier cannot match the olfactory sense of a hound. Houndmaster Braun has bred and trained a savage pack of canines to aid the Crusaders in hunting down their foes, living and undead. What it doesn't say is how much this man abuses and mistreats these animals. He purposely starves the dogs, but he does horrible, things to them. He abuses them, hurts them, mistreats them very, very badly. So forgive me, I'm about to spoil something for a show, and it's the show Game of Thrones. Okay, I'm about to spoil something here. Now, usually I would not do this. Usually I would not even think of dropping kind of a spoiler for the show. However, by the time I was done watching the show, I felt like it didn't matter, because I, at this point, would never encourage someone to watch the show because of how little anything in the show, mattered in the end. Seriously, it felt like I had wasted my time watching 8 seasons of that show. But there are certain moments and characters and such that I do look back fondly on, but at this point, I have no motivation to really watch the show as a whole ever again, or to, recommend it to anybody else. It disappointed me that much. So, here's the spoiler, basically. This man reminds me of Ramsay Snow, or as he became known also, Ramsay Bolton, where he had his own personal hounds that he would starve because he would then have them eat people that he wanted to die, whether they be enemies or prisoners or civilians. Now, what's about to happen to Houndmaster Braun here is very similar to what ended up happening to Ramsay. And let me just say, there was probably nobody in that show that I hated more than Ramsay. And I really wanted him to get what was coming to him because he did horrible, terrible things to so many people in that show. And I really wanted him to get what was coming to him. And as far as I'm concerned, he did. His death was one of the more satisfying moments in that show, to see someone who really deserved just to have horrible things happen to them because of the amount of horrible things they did to other people. Like, Joffrey was another one, but Ramsay, oof. Because Joffrey didn't really get a death I thought he really deserved. I thought he got off easy, but Ramsay? Well.
Did you hear something, lads? Fresh meat for the dogs.
So yeah, he will do that, put that debuff on you. Basically Phantom Knives with Death Blossom.
I bleed. But I won't die. What? No. No, stop! Obey your master!
Yeah. So that was a wall of Scarlet Crusaders that we could not get through until we did that. So yeah. We caused him to bleed, which made the dogs that he had been starving for days and days he became much more appetizing to smell. You know, he started smelling very tasty to those animals. And so what he trained them to get a taste for came back to haunt him. And that's also what happened to Ramsay. He was kept locked up, strapped to a chair in a room with those hounds. He had been starving them for days. And, well... I believe Heath Ledger's Joker said it well in The Dark Knight, which was...
I can't attack that.
We'll see how loyal a hungry dog really is. So, as a dog owner and lover, I'm very glad that Braun got what was coming to him there.
I can't attack that dog.
Although, so this little area is a little rough if you don't take the time to deal with the range, because they can, they can hurt. Let me clear this.
I
trash
don't
over
have
here
a target.
first. Now, it is worth noting that I believe this place was, of course, changed somewhat compared to how it used to be. Like, this is even the case in other dungeons we'll be visiting later. This is Arms Master Harlan. The weapons of the Scarlet Crusade are many, and new initiates must be indoctrinated in the use of blade, hammer, arrow, and shield, effective tools against the undead. Arms Master Harlan has dedicated his life to the art of wielding these indelicate instruments, and he is pleased to provide a demonstration for the Crusade's blasphemous enemies.
Another chance to test my might.
So yeah, he'll do that cleave.
On your guard.
He'll call in ads to help him out. And then there's one ability I really want to show off that he does here. It's a pretty cool looking ability, and it's pretty rough if you can't avoid it.
Beware.
Here it is, Blades of Light. So yeah. So I'm stunned because now I'm caught in that and I can't get out. I mean, I do, I probably could get out. Yeah. But yeah, you take a lot of damage when that ability happens. Bested by the likes of... So you'll notice there's a number of statues here. Heroes of the Scarlet Crusades past. Invar One Arm. the first chief assassin of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Dalaran, last seen on the shores of Northrend. Aerolus Fireleaf, High Wizard of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Quel'Thalas, locked in eternal combat with the necromancer Daisalvan. Halia Sunshield, defender of the Scarlet Crusade, killed while slaying the Dreadlord Beltheris. Farron Marcus, High Abbot of the Scarlet Monastery, citizen of Stratholme, killed defending the Scarlet Monastery at the first Summertide assault. I wonder if that's referring to the vanilla version, because they'll often refer to the vanilla versions of these dungeons, in some way or another. So, yeah, High Abbot. Hey, Abbot! I hope so. Please, somebody get that. Yana Bloodspear, the second chief assassin of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Dalaran, lost in the Tirisfal Glades. Ormen of Stromgard, the first captain general of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Stromgard, lost at the mouth of Ice Crown Glacier. Filari Swiftarrow, ranger captain of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Quel'Thalas, lost in the forest of Silverpine. Dorgar Stonebrow, warrior of the Scarlet Crusade, lord of the Red Caverns, last seen in the mountains of Alterac. Phalia Twinblades, warrior of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Alterac, last seen deep in the eastern Plaguelands. Harthal Truesight, Lord Paladin of the Scarlet Crusade, citizen of Azeroth, Knight of the Silver Hand, last seen entering the cursed city of Stratholme. And
I need to get closer.
Admiral Barian Westwind, Grand Admiral of the Scarlet Fleet, citizen of Kultiris, lost off the frozen coast of Northrend. Fun fact, I believe that is actually Mal'Ganis. Remember, Mal'Ganis and Balnazar did an amazing job completely manipulating the entire crusade to do these things. Balnazar was the one who basically caused them to become the evil organization that they have become, and then Mal'Ganis took over after we went into Stratholme, but I'll be showing that actually happening later. But yeah. Oh, this is great. So these are Scarlet Treasures. When we kill them, they drop piles of gold that you can then loot as actual, pieces of gold. So, just a cool little thing here that in case you want to pick up a bit of extra money as a donation on behalf of the Scarlet Crusade, you're more than welcome to. Because, hey, it's not like they are going to be using it again anytime soon. Or that they deserve it. But, anyways. I just love that. They just, have money just, shoot out of their bodies after we kill them. So. Alright, we're almost done wiping out the Scarlet Crusade. There's nothing but the Crusade. Anyone that is not with us will fall. So let's see, I think, yeah, this guy puts up that shield. That is, yeah, reduces damage taken by allies within 8 yards by 99%. Yeah, that even prevented them from dying. Just to show you the mitigation that does. Alright. And right up there.
Everything must burn. None shall know the Scarlet Crusade's shame.
Flameweaver Kogler trains the Scarlet Crusade's more magically minded adepts in the subtle applications of the arcane. Fire is his speciality, and he has used his skills to burn the Order's historical tomes, erasing the Crusade's past failures. Apart from books, Kogler's flames have rendered many undead students and trespassers alike into piles of smoking ash. So, this guy basically lost his mind when he realized how evil the Scarlet Crusade had become, and he is so ashamed by how horrible they have become that he wants to burn all the historical books and tomes and records so that no one could ever possibly know going forward in the future how evil they actually were.
You too shall be charged to us!
So I want to kill him quickly because I want to talk about something. There are a lot of corpses out there. Nicely done. I'll talk to you in a moment. So, one of the reasons why it's important that when you come here and you kill him very quickly on Heroic... Did you get the Codex? In a moment. There is a book, like, I believe it's that one right there. I can't interact with it because I'm a paladin. However, if I was a mage, I would be able to collect this book because it provides you an extra portal spell. It is a portal spell that you can't really get anywhere else. It's called Ancient Dalaran Portal. It is a portal that will open up outside, in right over here, and it will be a portal that takes you right over here to the Dalaran crater. So, and it will drop you from the sky, so you have to be have some kind of ability to protect yourself from dying. However, it is a nice extra, just portal that you can open up, not necessarily just for yourself, because you can have it both as a teleport spell, but also as a portal for your friends or teammates or whatever, if you want a way to, get to this particular portion of the Eastern Kingdoms. So, it's just a cool little extra thing that if you come here as a mage and you do this on Heroic and kill him very quickly, you can be able to acquire this, because if you don't kill him quickly, and this was part of the way it was back in current content, if you didn't kill him quickly, he would set on fire this whole area here and burn the book, so you couldn't use it anymore. So that was part of the challenge of trying to beat this quickly on Heroic difficulty.
Yes?
Great start. It won't be long now before the Scarlet Crusade is nothing more than an ugly footnote in the annals of history. It is imperative I get my hands on that codex. Well, here you are. This tome contains a complete account of the Scarlet Crusade's history. Also included are its statutes, bylaws, and rituals, as well as a complete roster of the organization's membership. That is quite the codex. Yes! Yes. Now I have a checklist with the name of every Scarlet Crusader on it. Just in case any of them are unaccounted for. I don't like loose ends. We are helping her finish off the entire Scarlet Crusader organization, with the exception of one priest that we will actually be saving in Legion as our priest player character to have them join our order hall in Legion. But anyways, other than that, this is basically the end of the Scarlet Crusade organization after the events of these dungeons.
Remember.
Ooh, I got those as part of this. So the courier disappeared. I wonder where they could have gone. Whoops. She actually has now gone over to the other side. To the Scarlet Monastery, which is where we are going to be going now. So yeah, I do gotta run out. It's not like I can be like, hey, teleport out of the dungeon, so. You can do that if you're in a group, and then teleport back in to go to the beginning, but, if you just walk in, it's a different case. Oh. Well, hello there. Sorry, doggies. But after the amount of suffering you've gone through, perhaps it's for the best.
I'm out of range. I need a target.
And now for the Scarlet Monastery. Oh, it's our hooded crusader friend. Huh. Interesting.
What will you require?
Good to see you again. For a moment I was worried that you wouldn't come. Let's finish this, shall we? The Scarlet Crusade has proven that it's not going to put an end to itself. The problem with the Scarlet Crusade is that they keep coming back, even after death. Behind those resurrections is High Inquisitor Whitemane. With her death, so goes the Crusade. To give her the final rest, we need 2 swords of legend, each with a lost but storied history. Luckily for me, us, these 2 blades of the Anointed are at rest here within the monastery. Find them, and once you have killed Whitemane, plunge the blades into her corpse to make the death permanent.
Embrace.
You know, at least until Legion, but I'll talk about that later. So, take a gander at this. Scarlet Centurions, and they are... It's a pile of corpses. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. The Scarlet Monastery. The Crusade's fanatical leaders direct their followers from the Scarlet Cathedral. At the heart of the monastery grounds, this heavily guarded location functions as the Order's headquarters, and some of the most zealous and intolerant Crusaders roam the halls of this once hallowed place. This is Thalnos the Soul Render. Thalnos earned repute in the Scarlet Crusade for the brutal torture methods that he used to purify new recruits. Boy, this sounds kind of like what Cormac went through when he joined the Templar in Diablo 3. You know, but the will of a Templar, you know. Ultimately, the sadistic mage contracted the plague of undeath and arose as a fearsome skeletal being. The vengeful Thalnos now prowls the monastery's graveyard, commanding the apparitions and zombified creatures to attack anyone who trespasses on his unholy domain. Yeah. Notice the amount of, spirits that are here, these Type 2 undead here.
My endless agony shall be yours as well. No rest for the angry.
So yeah, he summons ads to help with the fight. Yeah, this can be a little bit of a rough fight. Just a bit. Bracers of the Fallen Crusader. So here's the first blade. The Blade of the Anointed. The sword glows a fiery red in your hand. Magical runes forming the word unquenchable are inlaid along the blade. Sounds kind of familiar. I wonder where I've ever heard of a runed sword like that. It doesn't ring a bell. Hello?
I need to get closer.
You can probably say that I am entirely with our friend here on board with her plan to completely wipe out the Scarlet Crusade. So yeah, this area can get a little rough, depending on how much of these you end up aggroing. So yeah, these are purifiers, using train dummies to learn how to use fire to purify enemies. Mainly undead. Adjudicators, yeah. Yeah.
I need to target something first.
Spirit of Redemption. Huh, that's rich. So here's the second blade. With one blade already in your possession, you move to take the other. An inscription on the statue behind the sword reads, "The Hand of Providence." The second anointed blade floats just in front of the wet statue. Steam rises from the sword. You get the uncanny feeling that the Hand of Providence has been waiting for you. You take the second anointed blade in hand and feel the power of both swords course through you. There is but one thing left to do. As the mysterious hooded woman explained, to put an end to the Scarlet Crusade, you must thrust both blades into the corpse of High Inquisitor Whitemane. Yeah. Trust me, I'll be talking more about Whitemane in just a bit, when we get there. Yeah, I hate this trash. You carry the taint of the Scourge. Prepare to enter the twisting nether. I'm a paladin, a blood elf paladin, thank you very much. But that just kind of gives you an idea of how they really don't need to justify accusations like that. They'll just go ahead and do it. Shall smite the wicked and drive evil from these lands. Yeah, they use that to really push forward their agenda without actually, like, you know, being legit about it. The light condemns all who harbor evil. Now you will die. The fact that they're also accusing me of carrying the taint of the Scourge when I'm a blood elf paladin is kind of rich. I actually did contemplate coming through here as my Forsaken, but I ended up, the more I thought about it, the more I thought the idea of coming in here with my paladin and the corrupted Ashbringer was more fitting because of what we're about to do here. So, and the historical context for that. So this is Brother Korloff. Brother Korloff first learned of the monks' deadly arts from Pandaren ambassadors as they journeyed through Azeroth. When the Crusader demonstrated this martial style to his superiors, they unanimously ordered Karloff to train an entire generation of initiates in the ways of the monk. So you can see how this has been kind of updated for Pandaria.
I will break you!
So yeah, this guy does an ability called Firestorm Kick, which is an ability you definitely should ignore. Well, not ignore, but... Oh, I attacked him by mistake. But he'll do this big AoE fire ability that hurts, and you're like, ah, you gotta get out of the way, so... So now we are about to enter the cathedral. So that is Commander Durand.
Think you've come so far, only to perish here. I'll honor you with clean deaths.
So here's now where I can talk about why I'm here with the Corrupted Ashbringer. So back in the days of Vanilla, that was not Commander Durand. Instead, that was Mograine. No, not Senior Mograine, and no, not Darian Mograine. The youngest Mograine. So, the story of Mograine Senior, the original Ashbringer, is tragic because of the betrayal that happened to him at the hands of his youngest son. And no, it is not Darian. Darian is the older son who ended up becoming a Death Knight and joining the Scourge and then the Knights of the Ebon Blade. I forget the name of the youngest Mograine that used to be here, but he basically betrayed his father, stabbed him in the back, and killed him as part of the process to get basically approved by the Scarlet Crusade to join them and their cause. And so he was here, and he also grew very close to the real boss that we are here to fight, High Inquisitor Whitemane. Whether or not they were just very close friends, or whether or not they ended up becoming lovers, we actually, I believe, still don't know. I believe that's been kept kind of vague. But I bring that up because back in Vanilla, not only was the youngest Mograine here as a boss here, but when Blizzard added in Vanilla, when they added Nox Ramus, the leader of the Four Horsemen back in the day. Now, these days in Wrath, it's Baron Rivendare. However, back in Vanilla, it was Senior Mograine with the corrupted Ashbringer. Now, as you know, whoops, my bad. Some have. So back in the day, you could actually figure out a way to get the corrupted Ashbringer that he had. And there's a whole thing that players had speculated about how to get it. It was an entire thing that players thought of, crazy ways that they could be able to come up with it. In fact, Blizzard decided to implement that so that you could get this version. It's something I talked about in that video. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you acquired the corrupted Ashbringer, which was wielded by Senior Mograine when he was a Four Horseman and Nox Ramus, and then you came here to Scarlet Monastery where young Mograine was there, a cutscene would happen. So if you walked in here with the corrupted Ashbringer, like so, the Senior Mograine would then show up as a spirit, as an undead spirit.
It's too far away.
And he would, youngest Mograine would be like, "Oh my goodness, father," and he's like, "It's okay, son, it's alright, everything will be fine." And then he kills him. He gets revenge on his son for killing him. It's a unfortunately there's no way I can be able to really show it to you. I was hoping that what if, there was some secret cool little Easter egg thing that if you came back here to the current Scarlet Crusade or Scarlet Monastery with the new Ashbringer from Legion, if something happened, but probably a little too much actually hope for that. But anyways, I also bring that up because of something that Whitemane is going to say when we face her and when we kill her. So I just want to bring that up for the historical context, for how that happened. So from what I also understand, you used to have to clear this entire room because the moment you aggroed the boss here, the moment you pulled him, the entire room would be pulled as well. So you had to go around and you had to clear the entire room. Also, there's a cool little extra secret room over here that I want to show you guys. I believe... Where is it? Is it in here? Ah, there it is. Yeah. So, if I recall, because unfortunately you can't highlight to see what his name is, but if I recall, this may have been a boss back in the original Vanilla Scarlet Monastery, and he's also connected to the Ashbringer. In fact, I think we actually see him when we do the Dungeon and Burning Crusade. Old Hillsbrad Foothills, where we get to actually, not anything to do with this stuff over here, but rather when we go check out some of these other places over here, that I'll be able to actually show you some cool little extra stuff involving the beginning of the creation of the Ashbringer. So, with Senior Mograine. So, just a cool little extra thing there that Blizzard added in. So, anyways. So before I pull this guy, because then Whitemane is going to show up, and I kind of have to do a sequence here because her body is going to despawn pretty quickly. So after I kill her, I really quickly have to, do the thing with the swords, because if I don't, she'll despawn, and there's basically no way for me to do it afterwards. So I have to make sure I have this ready to go. But let's go back to this. As at a young age, Sally Whitemane witnessed her family succumb to the horrific plague of undeath. As they were traveling through northern Lordaeron, she was then forced to destroy her parents and siblings when they rose as mindless scourge minions, leaving her racked by guilt and rage ever since that day. The fearsome priestess has found fulfillment and pleasure in only one thing: the destruction of undead. Which is absolutely hilarious when you find out what happens later in Legion when our Death Knight comes here. But I'll talk about that in just a moment after we deal with her. So,
My legend begins now!
no one even knows who you are or remembers you, pal. We remember Mograine more than you. You're not even going to be a footnote in history at all. Nobody will remember your name.
But my legend...
There she
Shall
is.
pay for this treachery.
Arise, my champion.
So yeah, mass res. So you had to interrupt that, otherwise she would mass res the entire room.
It is done! You did it! And now enough of this deception. Hello, my name is Lillian. You don't mind if I take those blades, do you? Yes, these will do quite nicely. They feel almost as if they were meant for me all along.
So yeah, see how quickly she despawned? Yeah. So, after we killed her, all she said was, Mograine. Which leaves me to suspect perhaps they were lovers. Because for him to be the last person that she would think of in her dying breath, usually you don't do that, think that way about somebody unless you truly, truly cared for them. Like, a lot. So I got a couple of transmogs from that. The Crown of Holy Flame, which doesn't look any different than any of these. Disappointing. And the Lightbreaker Greatsword. Cool.
I live my life in the shadows.
So yes, this takes place basically right after the questing in Tirisfal Glades, because this is where we help follow up with Lillian Voss on her quest to get revenge against the Scarlet Crusade. Yeah. So, if you've seen my videos on the Undead or Forsaken starter zone, you will understand why.
With Whitemane gone for good, the Scarlet Crusade is finished. It's just a matter of sweeping up the refuse. Thank you, not just for myself, but for everyone opposed to mindless hatred and bigotry.
Amen to that.
And thank you for these 2 new blades, anointed anew in her blood. They should serve me well as I take the fight to Sholomance and deal with Dark Master Gandling. I bid you adieu, for now, which we will be doing at a later time. But yeah, you can see the kind of like storyline kind of continuing there. So yeah, we've seen her use those blades going forward. In fact, you can get those blades yourself. Hold on. There we go.
Keep your guard up.
So you notice how her soul basically left? Well, fun fact, they end up burying her in here. This is basically a room where they bury some of what they consider to be the greatest of the Scarlet Crusade. she ends up being right here because she was that highly regarded amongst the Scarlet Crusade. Now, let's talk for a moment about how this is actually not the end of Sally Whitemane's story. And I'm sure for many people this was a big surprise when it was revealed to them in Legion. So as a Death Knight, the third Lich King gives you the task of recreating the Four Horsemen. And you start off with getting General Nazgrim. Okay, cool. Nazgrim's awesome. Wasn't a true believer in Garrosh's cause. He was just loyal to a fault because he thought it would be dishonorable to stop serving his, because of his oath. Cool. Then there was Trollbane. It was like, okay. Of course, it was also a means to kind of get back at his son for murdering his father and the pathetic little pissant that he was. Seriously. However, then the Lich King told us to come here to the monastery and get Sally Whitemane as a horseman. That was a whoa type of moment. Because think of the irony of making High Inquisitor Sally Whitemane of the Scarlet Crusade not just an undead, but one of the Four Horsemen. Ooh, just imagine the smirking and the chuckling that the Lich King must have been having for himself, just thinking about the delicious irony. I delight in the irony. That he must have had thinking about how she must have been feeling about being brought back as an undead after all that she had been doing as Scarlet Crusade, basically only finding, as the guide here said, found fulfillment and pleasure in only one thing, the destruction of undead, and yet we bring her back as a horseman. which she still is, by the way. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we run into her and the rest of the horsemen in Shadowlands. But that's for another time. But yes, that is actually Whitemane's current fate, is being one of the new Four Horsemen. Which, again, the irony is just incredible. So that is the revamped versions of the Scarlet Halls and the Scarlet Monastery, with some interesting history involving the corrupted Ashbringer and such. So, while also continuing the story of Lillian Voss, who is still having a prominent role these days, now being one of the members of the Council of the Horde leadership. So, we will be delving into another dungeon when we return. Stay tuned.